You didn't follow us, you failed.
If you don't, yeah, exactly. We've got good stuff. Anyways, so grateful for these candidates tonight. They have been out probably knocking on your front doors, leaving things, wanting to talk to you, calling your phone. They have been working hard. We've got a little over a week left in the process. And this is our fourth, as a county, this is our fourth special election that we have run, I think, in like a year. Yeah, it's been super fast. I'll show you what we're going to do tonight, and we had the candidates come up, and they were not in any certain order. They drew a number out of a bag. We try to keep everything super fair as we can make it. And so, let me tell you how the process will go. They will give a 1-minute opener, and we'll just start down the line, and then after you go first, then the next time Ricky will go first, and the next time Greg will go first, and we'll just go in that order. So if the person in front of you went first, then you're up next, and so we'll go that way. They've got 1-minute openers, a 2-minute closer, and then they have the option of 30-second extensions or 1-minute extensions. So say that we ask something that they are passionate about, like air conditioning in public schools. And they would like to do an extension, they can ask for an extension. So we have down here, and Mike, when he gets back, will be holding cards. He's got green, yellow, and red. And so that will tell you kind of where you're at. So I will say some of the questions pretty easy, some of the questions are a little harder, as you know. And so the time frame will depend kind of on the difficulty of the question. And then if you need to take the extension time on it, then go ahead and do that. So just so you guys know, in the past, we didn't send out any of the questions for one. We sent out a handful of them. This is the most we've ever sent out to you guys. We sent them out yesterday, so they haven't had a lot of time with them. I'm not a fan of gotchas because I think that sometimes your knowledge of something isn't an indication that you couldn't work through and find the governmental principle and find your way to it. And so I wanted them to have a little bit of exposure to some of that stuff. But mind you, it is really difficult to put together questions for an audience of delegates, knowing that it is both questions that you need answered, that some of us all need education on, and so it's a combination of that. So some of them have a little bit of an explanation before the question. That's for them as much as you on some of those. And so we really tried to make those as neutral as possible without leaning. I do get accused of that, and I get accused of being opinionated, and I'm guilty. So if you do not follow us on social media, please do that. We have trying to keep those up to date, and we have a lot of things coming. So as you've seen, we've got endorsements. They're not controversial at all. So you can see the postings for those on our website, and I'll show you your guys' flyers at the end. So they got posted a day or two ago. Okay, so your special election is next Saturday, and we are at Westlake High School. So next Saturday, credentialing begins at 8 and meet the candidates. Then we'll do the call to order at 9, and we have a potential of some multiple rounds there. So there'll be speeches, and then we'll do balloting, and then I'll show you the rest of this after we're done for the closing. So we will start, Jason, you're up, and we will start with the 1-minute openers. If we should wait for Mike, unless Carrie wants to start timing. Carrie, you want to start timing? Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
As a delegate, and someone that's done this before, are we allowing cell phones for them, or is that something that maybe, as a delegate, I would love to be able to hear from you and not have the temptation, because when I've been you, I've been in that position where others were using cell phones.
Oh, yeah. He was in the one last year with like 13 candidates.
I don't know how the rest of
Are you guys fine with that?
Make it equal, yeah.
Okay.
Can I use my cell phone for my speech?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
My question is
for speeches, but
Not for Google.
not for, yeah. Listen, AI is coming, but not tonight. Not here. Okay, let me see if we have, okay. You ready? So they have
1 minute?
1 minute on these, and so let's say a 30-second and a 15.
Okay.
Does that work? Does that work for you, Jason? Yep. For all you guys? Okay, all right. Oh, we're not live on this one.
No.
He says
Well, I
we're
said
going to
just
try
have
that.
the mic while you're talking.
Can you hear me?
All right.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. My name is Jason Putman. I've lived here in Saratoga with my wife for about 12 years. Just right up the road here. For about the last decade, I've served as a firefighter paramedic in Provo, and in the last 6 years, I've served part-time out here as a firefighter paramedic. I'm running for House District 51 because I want to continue my community service, just in a different uniform. In my line of work, I see the consequences of policy decisions up close, in our neighborhoods, on our roads, and in our homes. I believe in protecting what makes us strong as a state, which is our families, our freedoms, and our public lands. I believe your voice matters. That's why if I'm elected, I will empower delegates, precinct chairs, neighborhood chairs, not just during the election cycle, but throughout my time in office.
Thank you. And I just want to remind you, you can help Carrie by clapping when she holds up the red, and that will indicate to them, because oftentimes you get lost in that. So audience, please watch Carrie as well when that red goes up. All right.
All right, I am Ricky Felix. I also live in Saratoga. I live on the south end of town. I'm still on HOA, but I've lived here for 5 years. I have 3 daughters. I'm a realtor as my job. Before becoming wanting to do this special election, I was a city council member in the city of Upland, California. I was a very rare Mexican Republican. You don't see those very often in California. But that was me. I'm running because I want to bring more local power. I want the city to have more power. I want to make sure that we can hold the proper people responsible. If I'm not a very good person, if I do bad choices, I'm going to hear from you. And I believe our city council does too. So I want to try to have the state give more power to the city of Saratoga. And I just want to make sure that everybody is taken care of. I'm more of a good for the family, good for the right family, husband, wife, and kids, then it should be good for you. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Greg Page. I'm an obsessive problem solver. I've been here for 7 years. I was born and raised in Utah. I look kind of Filipino or Hispanic. I speak really great Spanish, but I'm actually Polynesian, so we got good representation up here. I've lived here for 7 years in Saratoga Springs. I'm from Roosevelt, Utah, the desert. I grew up in the energy industry, and I studied energy and engineering and oil and gas. Eventually left oil and gas to work on water issues, and water, environment, and other infrastructure issues, especially water. I'm very obsessed with solving problems that are worth solving, and there are many, many problems worth solving. And my family has a big history of public service, and my dad served in the military, served in Afghanistan and Iraq. My little brothers are doing great in Africa right now. Both my grandfather served in World War II. And I feel like it's my civic duty to contribute in some other way because the military wasn't my path. So I am here with a lot of energy and some fresh new perspectives, and I'm happy to be here.
Okay, yeah. Good evening. I'm the granddaughter of Servicio Mugalatona and Lehi Okaputuila, and the granddaughter of Richard Taylor Ormsby and Margaret Taylor Cairns. I'm the daughter of King Saratoga from New Zealand, from Tona, and Celeste Ormsby Tona from New Zealand. I'm grateful for my Polynesian heritage. I was blessed to be born in Hawaii while my parents were students at BYU Hawaii, along with a couple of their brothers. I'm grateful I got to live in my parents' respective lands of Tona and New Zealand after both my parents graduated with their undergraduate and graduate degrees. I'm grateful for my life in these sacred places. I'm grateful to know what it's like to live outside America. I'm grateful my family came here to America like millions and millions of immigrant families who came here, penniless but with faith in God, able hands, and hope for a better life. After all, that is why so many of us come. I'm grateful we struggled. I'm grateful I learned about the stories of the founders, and because of their examples, it has given me courage to learn, to lean into my own struggles, and to be. I'm especially grateful to be here in America during this time. I know I'm meant to be here in America. I'm the eldest of 7. My name is Lehi. I'm going to be here.
I'm pretty happy. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for taking this seriously. I love this process. I've been able to get to know almost all of you, just about all of you in here. I bet I can name almost everybody's name in this room. And because I've been in your homes for a lot of you, and talk on the phone, and it's just an amazing process. And you've gotten to know me, and I've gotten to know you. And you know what I really learned is, I think we have a good idea of what problems need to be fixed. I think we know what needs to be addressed. And now it's just time to get to work. And I think that's what I can do. The reason I'm running is I've been working in legislation and policy for a long time. I know how these things work. And I feel like I have something to contribute to help our community, to help our families. And I love hearing about your families, hearing about your jobs, about your kids, about your grandkids. And this is about them. This is about us. This is about them. And what I would like to do is make a contribution that I feel like I can make. 20 years experience doing public policy and legislation. I have a family of my own, kids in public school. And I'm not going to have to learn where the bathrooms are in the legislature. I already know and I'm ready to get going. And that's why I asked for your vote. I'm for you. Thanks.
Okay. Yes, I also wanted to thank you for taking the time to serve as delegates and to vet the candidates. I am Melissa Gonzalez. I live in Hurstville, in the north. My husband is Israel, and I have 2 children. My husband's originally from Peru, naturalized citizen, so we are very pro-immigrant, but not for illegal immigration. I've been loving what I've been seeing up at the federal level. It seems like we're finally getting some traction in enforcing the law that we have and really reforming the immigration process. Unchecked growth is overwhelming our communities and it's eroding our quality of life. Our roads are clogged, our water supply is stretched thin. Too often, families are left behind, stuck in traffic and stuck waiting for answers and often stuck footing the bill. I'm running because I've been tired of watching politics drift away from our principles, and we need strong conservative leadership, willing to stand up and cut through red tape and fight for Utah families and for our special interests. And not for special interests or unelected bureaucrats. So our community, I want to stand up for our community and represent you, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay, thank you very much to our candidates. I'm going to switch over. Let me see if I can get it. Let's stand. Okay, let's see if this works. Great. And then we can do that. I'll give you guys this mic so you can split.
So do I get to pick up conspiracy theories? Because I was really hoping, when we said Jeopardy, I was really hoping to pick Jeopardy.
Yeah, it's tough.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, this I did maybe the very first Senate District 22, and my team said, you're insane. And it worked, and we've used it ever since. So the questions, they received a lot of them, they don't really go correlated to the amounts in difficulty. So I'll randomly choose them. I tried one time, I love the audience, and it just took too long. So we'll just randomly choose them, and I do realize that the first person that gets it versus the last person's had more time to think about it, but then the first person is the first person. So there's an advantage and a disadvantage there. So, okay. You guys ready for this?
So is it one person answers one square? Or is it
No, you all answer it.
Yeah, I can't choose it.
No, I can't.
Okay, it's random.
Yeah, I know. That
And it's so fun, conspiracy theories.
you know, I actually don't care. So why don't you go ahead, and the person that has the mic can pick the square.
Okay. I want to start really fun, guys. Let's do a conspiracy theory for 500.
What'd you say?
Conspiracy theory for 500.
Oh, right. Oh, wow. I'm a risk taker in the building. Let's go. Okay, conspiracy theories. I have to read it first, and I'll tell you. Conspiracy theories, and I'll give you a second to be able to set it, because I know you got to work on that. For 500, this is a great one. This one did correlate to the amount. Okay, COVID-19 was planned as a kickoff of a new self-perpetuating economic order that sets up parallel governmental systems that rob the global commons through public-private partnerships. Is that a total conspiracy? Everything's normal, or somewhere in the middle?
That's a a total conspiracy. First COVID was a conspiracy. Obviously, you know the real term.
How long?
Oh, I'm so sorry. We will do, let's do a minute and a half on this one.
Okay. So like I basically said, I believe it was a big conspiracy. Not just for the public-private partnership, but just for the election, the stolen election that we had. That was the biggest, I think that was the biggest thing we got from that. So, as you can see, I believe the election was stolen because of COVID-19. It's a real disease. I'm going to admit that. It's a real disease. It can hurt people. But the way that it was taken care of, the way that people were mandated to wear masks. Even in my church, they tried to make me wear a mask. I said no. I still went to church, and I said, you know what, it's my choice, freedom of choice. So that's the way I look at COVID-19, and the public-private partnership. I can see why they did it. They wanted to push things ahead. Who won in the end? Joe Biden won, as well as Pfizer and Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. They all won. Who lost? Us as a people, and we also lost lots of freedom in that one. And our kids got a lot dumber because of COVID-19 and their mandates. So now we have a lot to fix with our educational system as well as our trust in government. Thank you.
Let's go 1 minute on that one. Okay, great, you're up.
Oh man, I am so angry about COVID. I have been so mad since 2020. I do believe that a lot of conspiracies, total conspiracy, difficult. When I found out that that Wuhan had a level 4 coronavirus virology lab, it was absolutely obvious where it came from. Absolutely obvious, right? And then we find out that we funded it. We find out that the NIH funded it, and the Armored Tax dollars funded this really janky lab that released the coronavirus. And then the entire response, tons of horrific conspiracy between the pharma companies and our government. And then forcibly coercing people to take these medical interventions, not to mention what they did to our children in schools and greatly delaying their cognitive development because of what they did. So my very kids were in school in Duchesne County, which treated it a little bit different, and I like the way they handled it. But lots and lots of conspiracies involved in COVID. I will never forgive our government for what they did at that time, or the corporations that were embedded with them, forcing these medical interventions that ended up being real harmful. We are seeing that now, and I will never forgive them. And they should never forgive them.
You got that on 1 minute.
Hey, what?
Do you have that on 1 minute or 1:30?
1 minute and 10 seconds.
That's a somewhere in between.
Well, that's how large Ricardo had. So.
Oh, okay, that's fair. All right, Leah.
My cousins, I had some cousins who came here from Tonga. They were getting ready to send their daughter on a mission, and my cousin's husband contracted COVID, and he died. He couldn't go back to Tonga because Tonga was closed, and so they were stuck here in Utah for 3 years. Do I think it was a conspiracy? I think that there were some things that I think that there were levels of control that were in that whole situation. I was really frustrated to see Anthony Fauci making decisions for us when he wasn't even an elected official. My husband has heart problems, and because his health has been compromised, we did take the vaccine in order to protect ourselves and to protect him, because we wanted him to be here. But since he's taken that vaccine, he's had more heart problems, and we are potentially facing him and getting a heart transplant. So it's not a conspiracy in the sense that it was just control. I just don't think it was a good thing.
So my starting point with something like this is individual choice. That should be the baseline. And, I had COVID twice. I'm a 45-year-old with bad back pain. I wasn't really at risk. There were people who were at risk, the elderly, and they probably should have been protected. But I think this is a clear example of government way overreach, and especially at the federal level. And we have many friends on the East Coast living through this, so that in many parts of the country, not necessarily Utah, kids could not go back to school. But the bigger problem was you had government overreach, based on bureaucrats making decisions rather than individuals, and there was no political accountability. President Biden just said, it's not on me, it's on the CDC, and CDC was completely incompetent. So we can't allow that bureaucrats to rule this country again. And so my baseline is, let's start with individual choice, keep people protected, but let people choose.
Okay. So I hate how the government handled the COVID debacle, starting with, mask mandates, mask mandates, and also, mandating COVID vaccines. I work for a company that required you to get vaccinated and provide documentation of that. Total intrusion in your privacy. And I think we all know someone who was infected negatively by COVID, whether it was ourselves or a family member. I know my husband took the vaccine and he fainted from a decrease in blood pressure. So it is not a one-size-fits-all approach, and it's very concerning. Huge example of government overreach, and also I was very disappointed with all of the handouts and COVID spending that we are still dealing with the consequences, and the ripple effects will be felt for years to come, and I feel like that's very unfortunate.
Does it say mute on the little screen? Yes. How do you turn it off?
Push the button on the back.
Well, to kind of echo what everybody said, huge government overreach, mandates. I don't know where mandates fit in our Constitution, but I haven't read that part of it yet. And as a paramedic, I saw a lot of terrible things happen with COVID. From our protocols changing to the way we treated patients changing, it was terrible. All because of mandates. But the worst part is it cost mom and pop businesses, mom and pop restaurants, it caused them to shut down. Only big business was allowed to survive through it. That's not the government's place to pick winners and losers. We need to do everything we can to prevent that happening again.
Okay, thank you very much, you guys. And that is probably the hottest we've ever come out of the gate on the first question. By far. Okay, great, you're up.
Can we do miscellaneous?
Sure.
100?
For 100?
100?
Sure. He's shy after what he saw. Understandably. Okay, what is your opinion on jury nullification, also known as fully informed jury system? So we're going to do 30 seconds on this one.
Okay. Simply put, I believe that juries should absolutely be fully informed. Man, I'm not sure if there's another answer for that. We should try to have fully informed juries. This one, the nullification part of it, I'm not entirely familiar with, but we should obviously have fully informed juries making decisions about outcomes, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Leah?
In the UCRP new platform, it says proposed. The overturning, jury nullification is a vital check on bad legislation. I think that juries need to, they are the only independent people inside the courtroom and should be given the freedom to have the facts and also to be able to use the law as well.
So I think what we're getting at here is judges, after juries have decided, can overrule the jury and either make a decision as a judge or start the case over. I think that's what we're getting at. And of course, I'm not a fan of that. In fact, many of you have heard me talk a little bit. I think that the judges in Utah, not all of them, I think we have some really good judges, but then we also have some that are stepping beyond their bounds, and I think that's really concerning. And something that I definitely want to address, and something that I think that we probably need a better vetting process, and I think we need better access to data about judges when we have to vote on them.
So I think that jury nullification can be a great check on the process, and especially judicial overreach is gotten out of control. You have the judges on the ballot, but how much input is really given to the public when they're having to vote? Also, we've seen, like with the Utah Fits All Scholarship, with judges trying it up in court, that's very concerning. Like, they should be able to come in and just overturn legislation, and it's also against the will of the people.
Where I'm at. So, like everybody said, the jury should be fully informed, and if the jury goes against, even though they think someone's guilty, they get a not guilty verdict because they think the law is corrupt. This led me down a really fun rabbit hole of all these obscure laws we have. You are not allowed to walk down the street with a violin in a paper bag, just so you guys know. And I'm fully a fan of fully informed juries in that situation.
Ditto. No, but seriously, everybody needs to be informed, right? The juries are most likely to be informed at all times to know what they need, to know what's going on. Everybody else is saying the same exact thing. I think that's why it's only 30 seconds long, but voters, as Corey was saying, and Melissa said, that voters also need more information on judges too, who appointed them and that kind of thing. But yeah, I agree with that. Juries should be informed. Thanks.
Okay, and I recommended our delegates go look that up and see if they're doing a podcast about it. I'll be honest, some of them knew, some of them didn't, most of them didn't know. Go look it up. Not to say that that's anything, but it's a fascinating conversation. The founders wrote about this as a check on our entire system, which is something we've overlooked in America for a long time. Well done, you guys. Who are we on? Leah?
Oh.
What would you like to do?
Could we do, I like the middle. Could we just do number 300? Is that the middle?
That's it.
Okay, so this is innovation and
Yeah, that's the middle.
capitalism, this one?
Middle.
Yes.
Please.
Okay, here we go. Utah's new authority districts, independent entities, the words innovation and sustainable, and PPPs, that stands for public-private partnership, are all examples of the components of stakeholder capitalism.
30 seconds.
What would you say are the pros and cons of stakeholder capitalism versus laissez-faire capitalism?
I don't know the difference between stakeholder capitalism or laissez-faire capitalism, but I do know that all of these things have nothing to do with protecting the rights and the freedoms of the people and have no business being a part of our lives.
Stakeholder capitalism is this idea that corporations are basically making decisions not based on business or market reasons, but based on social or non-economic reasons, which could deal with maybe it's climate change, maybe it's some other social policy, transgender policy, something like that. And I'm actually very familiar with this because I've worked with large corporations for a very long time, and I think that it's just way out of bounds. I mean, I think that when these companies start moving beyond providing good jobs for their employees, to kind of serve the community, but then also generating a profit. That's what they're meant to do. And when they start stepping into these bounds, and we've seen here in the state of Utah that banks have tried to overreach, have even reduced Utah's credit rating as a result because Utah would participate in some of the stakeholder capitalism stuff. Our the Utah Treasurer, Marlo Oaks, has been very active on this, organized a letter from multiple states, and I think it's really important because it is the case that, okay, anyway, that's...
Would it be okay if we just held off the clapping until at the very, very end of the
Oh, they're just letting you know you're done, because that's when the red sign goes up. Is it helpful to hear that you're done?
The red sign helps a lot.
Sure. Go the red sign.
Either way. Okay. Now it's weird. What are we doing? How are we gonna not? All right.
Hold on. Like a golf clap.
Okay, let's
All right. Yeah, all of of these examples that are provided here are an example of giving our power away to corporations, and technically they're in violation of the Utah Constitution. You know, they do have, this is part of the new party platform, but it's showing government favoritism, these special interest rates, and especially we've seen it with the RDA in Vineyard. There was a lot of corruption, and it took away funds from public education. So we don't want to have anyone but our elected officials who are accountable to us have that power of taxation and disbursement of funds.
I agree, we have to be very careful with these, back to the COVID thing, the government's job is not to pay winners. If you get stakeholder capitalism, the government is taking the risk while private business takes the reward. We have to be careful with the public-private partnership. I don't know how many attended Splash Days. They had sponsors for the drone show. We've got sponsors of football games and stuff like that. There is a place for public-private partnership, but not at the government's risk. We should not be taking the risk while they get the reward.
Thank you.
The thing is that I believe stakeholder capitalism, I'm against that. The big government or big authorities like that, the authority districts, there's no accountability. Like I've been telling people, we need to bring things down more to the local level. Make the local level a little bit more powerful because we can hold people accountable. This does not make our politicians, decision makers, accountable to anything. They can just pass the buck. At the same time, the PPPs, you gotta be wise with it. How is it going to benefit the people and how is it going to benefit the government? That should be the number two, that should be 1 and 2 right there. Now, if it benefits the people and the government, and you do make a little bit on the side, that's because you're doing a great job. But we should not take any risk, and we should be reviewing more rewards. Thanks.
I got this. All right, I'll echo what has already been said. Public-private partnerships can be useful. I'm in favor of like sunset laws and like real oversight, holding their feet to the fire. Really, when I think of stakeholder capitalism, I think about the ESG movement, which I have always been incredibly against. We were seeing some authoritarian type ideologies guiding global investment in many things and guiding it away from places that it was actually going to be a better path. And we're seeing like DEI came in and implemented all these racist and sexist type policies, really, and that I was just really against the entire concept of it. So I'm a huge fan of laissez-faire capitalism. I'm a huge fan of free markets, and that's what we should be championing. We should be very careful with public-private partnerships. They absolutely can be useful if they're managed properly. Thank you.
I think I'm gonna go housing, property, traffic, or might as well be 500.
Okay. Housing, property, and traffic.
Does it get harder? Is it higher number?
No, not always. No. Yeah, it does. This one's done. And then for the rest of you, make sure you know which number you want. We'll go a little faster on those. Okay, so this one is 1 minute. Regarding Utah's connected and autonomous infrastructure, road usage charges, and congestion pricing, where is the line between privacy, the right to travel, and the government's jurisdiction over roads? And I do want you to know that we already have the connected and autonomous infrastructure road usage charges and congestion pricing in law right now. Some of it hasn't been enacted, but they have. That is something that's already passed. So these aren't just in the future. Oh shoot. So 1 minute on that one.
Okay, so I think there's two main pieces to this. One is the transportation aspect, the other is the technology aspect. So when it comes to the transportation, I completely oppose toll roads. We already pay enough. You already pay enough gas tax. We don't need to be paying tolls in order to go to Walmart. So I'm opposed to that. When it comes to the technology aspect of it, AI is going to really overcome our society in a way that could be cool, but it was also going to be very scary. And we're going to have autonomous vehicles, and we need to get ahead of it. I think we need to be smart and make sure that we preserve our privacy rights. And this is something the legislature needs to be active on. They have a little bit, but there's so much more to do. It's something that I'd be very interested in because when it comes to preserving our own data, preserving our own privacy, this idea that we're talking about here is that the vehicles are constantly giving information to some database, and that is concerning. We need to get ahead of it. But overall, we need to get roads built and not through toll roads. We need to get it done, and that will be my highest priority, is getting our roads in place.
Thank you. Well, do you see the screens out? Can you help me with that? I don't know if it's you or me. I wiggled the cords. Okay, well, he's working on that. Melissa. Oh, thank you so much.
Okay. The right to travel should not be infringed upon, or we should not have our travel restricted. We saw that during COVID, where we were required to show proof of vaccination to be able to travel. It's a very extreme case that we lived through. I also think that, with road usage charges, so very against tolls, and also, we should be tracked. Government should not be restricting the ability of their citizens to travel.
Well, I agree with the amendment proposal there. The right to travel should not be infringed upon. Connected driving and autonomous, we need to manage that. That's coming. We need to manage that. Road usage charges, that happens when you pay the pump. The more you travel, the more you pay. I'm fine with that style of usage. But congestion pricing, certain road pricing, if we get there, how do they get that data? Like Corey said, that's going to be a huge data collection. That's your privacy going out the window. And I'm not okay with that. We need to protect our privacy. We need to be able to go for Sunday afternoon car rides if we want to. We live in the West. Road trips are a thing. We should not infringe upon those. Thanks.
All right. Road usage charges. I believe autonomous infrastructure, we got to make sure that we're ready for that, because AI is going to come and we can't stop it. So we got to be ready. Road usage charges, obviously, is gas tax, but I told us that's a joke. That's a big joke, a big money grab that we have no control over, and obviously the public sector gets the benefit of it. So we need to stop with toll roads, especially if you already have roads there. The privacy, it makes me sick. Nobody should have any data on you unless you give permission. And it can't be in fine print. It needs to be right there before it needs to be right there in big, bold letters. We are collecting your data. You accept. No. It can't be in fine print. We gotta make sure that we make the law to make sure that that is in big, bold letters. Just like cigarettes have the general surgeon, general surgeon, if he says cigarettes will kill you. We need to have the same thing on anything that they want to pick. Anything that is about private data, we need to be able to shut that down now. The right to travel freely and unencumbered by government regulation, tracking, and reporting is the right of every individual. This is the platform. Public space for traveling parks should not be sold to private entities or held in public-private partnerships. I spend a ton of time in Denver, I spend a ton of time in Vegas, spend a ton of time in the city, toll roads. We don't need to do that. Public infrastructure is open to people. We can always stay in the hands of people. And obviously, our data needs to be protected. All the digital ID stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into, and just data tracking. We're being tracked. And we need to have legislation that protects us from stuff like this being used to find where we're at, and know where we're at,
I don't like congestion pricing. I get the idea behind it, man. Really an idea, right? That kind of is some type of market-based way of reducing congestion that maybe costs something. I don't like it.
In the platform, it does talk about that. It does say public spaces. Oh, sorry, I'll stand up. Public spaces for traveling and parking should not be sold to private entities or held in public-private partnerships. Where is the line between privacy, the right to travel, and government's jurisdiction on the roads? I've never really had to think about that, where the line is between that. But what I do know is that we do need to, that our privacy is ours to protect. It's our personal property, and we reserve the right to. That's ours, that should not be infringed upon at all.
Thank you.
Okay, let's do conflicts of interest for 500.
Okay. All right, this one says, how do you deal with strong opposition? This is just the reality of things for those of you who know. Your bills can be held in rules, you can be looked over or be removed from committee chair or other positions, or have your bills filled in committee, if sometimes you don't go along, get along. What in your character, background, experience, knowledge, or personality will aid you in dealing with the fallibility of humans in a system that Washington compared to fire and health force, and where Adams cautioned that some can get intoxicated on power?
Yeah, I really did go big on that one. I will say, I mean, at the core of the question is integrity, right? You have to have personal integrity. I know that I have strong integrity, and I've proven that through both my personal and professional life. I mean, you give some very specific examples here, but I will say it can happen where our elected officials get out of touch with people and they start having that distance and thinking that maybe they're more important than just the average voter. That's something that's something that I would bring into as a candidate. But I would not do that.
Thank you, Melissa. Amy Jason. 30 seconds.
All right. As a fireman and on emergency scenes, this kind of stuff happens a lot. If it's a bill that I'm running, and I stand by that bill, and I get the cold shoulder, I'm willing to die on that hill. I do know what Adam said about being intoxicated on power. I do see that happening. But if I'm running a bill, and it's a good bill, first I look to make sure that it was a good bill. Because if they're giving me the cold shoulder, it may be a terrible bill. But this kind of stuff does happen. I stand on my integrity.
Okay, yeah. So obviously, if I have a bill, I want to get it passed, which means that it has to go to the committee. I need the votes behind it. I was a city councilman in California where I wanted to propose something. I had to make sure I got 2 more votes behind me to go to push it through. So the thing is that you have to work with others, but you still need to stand. You cannot. You gotta stand your ground. You have to have integrity. You gotta be tough. To say, hey, you know what? This is what I believe. I can't change these parts. Intoxicated power. That's not my problem. Like I said, I was a city councilman in California, then I resigned to move my family to Utah. So power is not my problem.
Great.
We should be proposing bills that are simple, that are readable, that are not 500-page omnibus bills. We're going to get pushed back in some place from different interests because there are competing goals that different people have. They have different ideas on how to achieve a common goal. I think the bill should be, I think all of our legislation should be very, very much data-driven. And I would like to propose bills that are, basically undeniably reasonable. so that when people push back against them, they get to out themselves as being unreasonable.
Thank you, Leah.
I got to see this experience, well, I had this experience at the session, at the legislative session this year. There was a bill that I didn't like, and I had to trust, I had to work with the sponsor of the bill, even though I heard so many bad things about this particular legislator, and I had to trust that the person who put the bill that I didn't agree to, or didn't agree with, would be trustworthy about making changes that we had asked him to make, and he proved himself to do that, and so I was really grateful for that.
So maybe you know I served as a senior advisor and attorney in the United States Senate for over a decade, and I worked for a business organization doing advocacy for business and healthcare for a very long time. I've crossed swords with some of the most powerful lobbyists in this country, and I know how they operate, and I know their tricks of trade, so to speak. And this is what we need, is someone who can go navigate that, because the entire Hill here in Utah is going to be swarming with lobbyists and special interests. And what we need to be able to do is understand where they're coming from and be able to operate around that. And I've done it for 20 years. This is what I want to do for our community very much. I think that what I bring to the table is an ability to navigate that and beat that.
Jason, do you want to do this?
Time.
I will take the miscellaneous for 200.
Okay, miscellaneous for 200. And it says, if you were to rate yourself 1 through 10 on political engagement, local and state, how involved are you and why? And this is 30 seconds.
This is a great question. I'm obviously here. I'm a little bit more than average, so I put myself about a 6 or 7. I've always been super interested, been looking for my way to get involved, and this is my way to get involved.
I would probably give myself an easy 7. I'm a precinct chair. I've been a delegate for multiple years. Where did we go? So that's my involvement. 7.
Thank you. Great.
Oh man, I'm the new guy to politics. I come out of nowhere, came from nowhere. Over the last, I'm only 36 years old. I spent most of my career building businesses all over the country. But for the last few years, I've taken some interest in, been to some caucus meetings. Been to the Hill a few times, mostly watched my twin brother testify in front of some committees. So I give myself, up until now, maybe 3, to be honest here, because I'm new to this, but I'm engaged now. Here we are. I've been looking for the moment to throw in and find places to serve.
I would give myself a 10. I've been attending the legislative session for the last few years, but watching all 45 days, attending either online or in person, all 45 days. I served as a county delegate, state delegate, precinct chair, House District Vice Chair twice, House District Education Officer, and State Central Committee member, and I'm very involved. Thank you.
So my wife and kids would say I'm a 20 on the scale of 10 when it comes to this stuff, because I've worked in this for a long time. I've also been the district chair, been a delegate, state delegate, county delegate, was the education officer, actually also was the vice chair of our district for a little while. Served on governor's commission to eliminate improve regulations for the state. So very involved at the state level, extremely involved at the federal level, and been doing it for a very long time.
Yeah, so I put myself at 9, close to a 10, and I've been involved with the caucus and convention system for over 20 years. I got registered to vote, went straight to my caucus and got elected as a delegate, and I've been involved ever since. I'm a former state central committee member, precinct chair. This past time caucus, I decided to give the opportunity to someone else, so I've just been a state delegate this last round. But I love the political process. I love the caucus convention system. I love to see it made stronger.
So you guys also, right? Okay, I'm going to go faster than we
do Ms. Lee's recycling group.
Okay, what are your thoughts on climate change, sustainability, and SDG goals? 30 seconds.
My thoughts on climate change, I think, okay, obviously we need renewable resources. I agree. We got to clean things up. But when it comes to climate change, I believe the Earth is a living organism where basically if it's sick, it will take care of itself. Do we just take advantage of that and just expect the Earth to just take care of itself? No, we do need to do our part and take care of things. I don't believe in going completely blue. The Green Deal is a joke. Everything that way is a joke. I want to be moderate on that one and take care of it.
Yeah, the climate is changing. It's always been changing. It will always change. And I do not submit to the Malthusian dialectic of, there are too many humans. It's an anti-humanist point of view, which is absolutely wrong. We have the resources and technologies to provide ourselves with enough energy, and I do not think we should be subsidizing things with a terrible capacity factor, 25% for solar and wind. I do not think we should be pouring our resources into that. Things have been a huge disservice to our company. This Green New Deal thing and all of the ESG goals and federal mandates for renewables.
My thoughts on climate change is that we do need to be good stewards of the earth. We do need to be wise in protecting what we do have here for our future. And that said, I do not subscribe to fear tactic, propagandizing climate change, and fear is never been good policy.
I mentioned that climate's changed for billions of years and it's never stayed static. But I think I agree that we need to be good stewards of the environment, and I think we are. I actually think we are. I think there's overregulation in the space. I think there is a good effort, and we should continue to that because I want to make sure that the environment is safe for our kids. But climate change has become more of a kind of vehicle for other political goals and other political agenda as opposed to actually protecting the environment at this point. And so I think we need to be mindful of that. But as Utahns, I think that we care a lot about our environment.
Great. I think that we have to balance the needs of growth and in our economy with the importance of being wise stewards of our environment and having a healthy environment. However, I don't think that we should be taking on investments based on the impact on the climate, because we should be looking at the merits of the investment. And I know Arlo speaks about that a lot. I'm against SDGs.
We have proof that there's been an ice age, so we know that the climate is changing. I don't think that we are that involved. However, we live in a valley that has inversions. We need to be careful what we put into that inversion. Don't burn tires on a inversion day. We need to be careful with that. If someone comes up with a new solar panel that can solve our energy crisis, free market capitalism will take it where it needs to be. But until then, I think the government cannot control the climate, and no amount of tax dollars will control the climate.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to pick a couple from these. We're just going to have to sample some of these, and then we'll have our, so we've got about 20 minutes. So I'm just going to pick a couple things. Yeah, that works. Okay, moving forward, what reforms do you believe would be the most effective to improve Utah's elections?
How long?
30 seconds.
Oh, well, I would be in favor of repealing SB 54. I think the power needs to stay with delegates in the caucus system. I do not think that allowing moneyed interest to come in by a lot of signatures is good for our democracy or our democratic process here in Utah, and we need to protect the caucus system.
What reforms do I believe would be the most effective to improve Utah's elections? Firstly, I think that Mr. Scott giving rulemaking authority to present governor's office. I saw that bill being done, and it was disturbing to me. I think that the elections need to stay with the state legislature and not not with the Lieutenant Governor's office, that they can, I believe that the LG's office should be able to do what the state legislature wants, not just be an independent entity doing everything else.
Yeah, so Bill, you know, might have some opportunity, Bill, that I want to file is to remove the election administration from the Lieutenant Governor's office. Some of you may know that there used to be a Secretary of State in Utah, and that person actually handled the elections, and for, I guess, budgetary reasons in the 80s, they eliminated that position, but we need to recreate it, because what we need is someone elected by the voters that's completely separate from the governor's office. And so I would support a new Secretary of State to go back to how Utah used to be. Probably cost a little bit, but not too much, and I think it would be worth it. So that's a bill out of
We all know the importance of free and fair elections, and Utah has a lot of room for improvement. I think the in-person voting versus mail-in voting is superior for security. We want to have a clear chain of custody, which we don't have in our vote-by-mail system. Also, for those areas, those groups that have extenuating circumstances, like if they're in the military, serve a mission, we should be able to accommodate those. Actually, the biggest voter fraud are moms of missionaries, actually. It's kind of interesting fact.
Those of you that I've had the chance to talk with, I'm all about empowering the delegates. If we empower the delegates, we build a stronger caucus system, and then that cannot be outdone by a couple of signatures. If we had a solid caucus system that was putting up solid candidates, which we have, it will overpower the signature gathering. That would be the bill I would
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we need to protect the caucus system. We need to bring the elections up. We gotta trust our elections, right? So, I want to bring in-person voting in. I also want to propose, because obviously every state gets to choose their way their election process is. I want a voter ID laws. We got to make sure that people voting are actually citizens, right? Especially with the border wide open from Biden era. We got to make sure we get the right people voting. We got to get rid of SD51, and if we can't get rid of it, that's added to that you can't buy signatures. You got to remember that you got to get signatures, not buy them.
Okay, 30 seconds on this one. Non-governmental organizations have huge influence, huge emphasis with the legislature. How will you balance NGOs' advice and influence against representing your constituents?
I love this question. I will go to my original NGOs who are precinct members in each house, in this house district. If elected, I want to create my own legislative collaboration meeting with members of each precinct in this house district. I want to have conversations with you, as well as with our school board members and our city council members. And I feel like my constituents are the ones that I represent, are the ones that I interact with every day. NGOs have no business in my life.
So I think maybe the top example of this, right, is the new hockey and basketball stadium being funded by taxpayers, and I think that's deeply problematic. So when we're talking about NGOs, we're talking about people who are coming to the trough and finding an opportunity, and I think what President Trump has done in a number of ways with DOJ and so forth, we need our own DOJ effort here in Utah to really take a hard look at this. And where is the money going? Is this circulating, being given to NGOs for some sort of thing, and then re-laundered back in order for them to get ahead?
Yeah, speaking of the hockey and baseball subsidies, it's a big pet peeve of mine. It's a great example of crony capitalism. I cannot fathom why we need to give over $2 billion to people who are already billionaires who are in profit. But I think I wanted to also touch on special interest groups. My litmus test is if what they're telling me does not align with my personal values, I'm not supportive. And also I would take into consideration the values of my constituents in any decision that I make.
represent NGOs, we represent you guys. We represent the citizens of Saratoga. So when it comes to NGOs, I'm not there to represent the NGOs. I'm there to represent you guys. And it's in the title. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't like NGOs. I'll be honest with you, if there's a bill about education, who should I go to? An NGO or should I go to teachers? I'll go to teachers. If there's about housing, am I going to go to builders? No, because they want housing. No, I'm going to go to homeowners because that's who has to deal with the housing. Yeah, so I'm against the NGOs. We need to be very careful on who we let in because there's no accountability with the NGOs. So we got to make sure that we're accountable for what's happening on the government side.
Yeah, a lot has been said about, these cozy relationships between non-government entities and our government, like the stadiums. You have to watch out for these types of relationships in different industries, including energy and education and the medical establishments. We have to be really wary of all that stuff, and we represent the people. We do not represent some non-government organization. I do not think it will be difficult to balance who we should be listening to versus who we shouldn't be listening to. We should be listening to the people.
Bill's session. We'll do, let's see, we're going to go till 9 o'clock. We'll do like 2 more, and then we'll do their final closing comments and stuff. So we'll give you a little bit of time frame. This one says, during the last week of the session, the rules are suspended and the process is sped up, resulting in passing many bills, amendments, and sometimes whole bills that don't get read. What are the pros and cons of the suspension of the rules?
I mean, so really what we're talking about is tactics that's used by the leadership in the House and Senate. And the House leaders, they know how to jam you. And we've talked about this with many times, some of us here. That is, most of the work is done in the off season, in the interim session, like right now. This is when I want to get you involved. This is when we need to have these discussions and get ahead of it. Because once the session starts, then the leadership actually has all the cards, and they know how to jam you, whether it's suspending the rules or 20 other different tactics. And so we need to get ahead of it. And that's what I would plan to do.
Yes, I'm also not a fan of these tricks that happened at the last end of the session where we ramrod everything through. If you're ever there on the last day of the session, you just see all the yeses going and everything it's just a last ditch effort to push whatever through that they want, and it does not lend itself to good policy making. I'm not a fan, and I think most of the work needs to be done in preparation for the session and before we get in session so that we can avoid this certificate at the end.
Suspending the rules is a great way to slip stuff through at the end. Like Corey said, they're trying to jam you up. This is one of the tactics they use to pass bad bills. Good bills sometimes get slowed down as they get their fiscal notes and all the details worked out. So suspending the rules on those, I guess could be called a pro, but good bills move no matter what. Suspending the rules just moves mass, moves quantity, not quality.
There are no pros to suspension of the rules. There's only cons. That's something that, like I believe what Corey said. He said, making the bills is happening right now. Campaigning the bills to the leadership should be happening before the session. The session is for education for the constituents, for people to know this is what's going to happen. But the education for the leadership needs to happen before the session so that they know what's going on. If a bill gets suspended, it has to be a bad bill. 90% of the time it's going to be a bad bill because they wait until the last minute to do things.
It's quite crazy that they can pull these types of tricks. I think that, like it's been said, a really good bill will be evident. If they're trying to shove stuff through and it's not something that I'm highly familiar with or have read in depth, I'm going to default to no. Because we know what these tricks are, and we should default to no because Thomas Matson will play.
This really has been maddening to watch as we watched the sign die the last day of the session, just the last week actually. where they do suspend the rules, and where I see so many yeses. And I feel like the coach from you would remember the Titans, when he just sees the bad things that are happening, he's like, okay, I know what we're going to do. You blitz every single time. For me, the answer will always be no. Woo-hoo!
Thank you. Just a little bit of context for the delegates. A lot of the county leadership is going to make a concerted effort to push the elimination of the suspension of the rules this next session. If you've been there, it only happens because a lot of votes for it. So if you ask every legislator individually, they say, oh, I'm not for it, then everybody votes for it. And so whoever gets elected here, please know, the pressure to vote for that will be huge. And so please remember, the suspension of the rules is a violation of the process, and everything that we will do. What it does just to the audience is you don't have to go to the second committee, everything goes faster, they don't have all the processes that you pay homage to in the session just get eliminated the last couple of days of the session. So look for information from the county on that so you can help us kind of ask all of our elected officials to vote no against the suspension of the rules this year.
Okay, so let's do, gosh, one more, but I'm going to run through them so you guys can see what the other questions were. And then that way, when they call you, if these were of interest to you, you can still ask these to them. And so I'm going to do, we'll do one more randomly.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's a great one. So, do you support or oppose legislation that would create a waiting period for hiring and running for public office for lobbyists, elected officials, and government employees who could potentially benefit from the revolving door? Okay, so this one is 30 seconds. Are we on this first?
No, I just started last time.
Oh, you did, Jason.
So there's a massive waiting list to be a fireman. And because of that, we get the best of the best. It's not always a good thing when you have vacancies. Sometimes it's hard to get people trained up and stuff. But I could see where a waiting period, especially for lobbyists, elected officials, the waiting period would be this. You're interviewing us every day. There is a benefit to a waiting period.
I support a waiting period. You can't just push things through. It's kind of like the suspension of the rules, right? You're just pushing through just because you want to get it over with and try and get some bad stuff through there. That's exactly over here. The hiring process, we're not going to just hire anybody. We've got to make sure we get the best players, the best people there. Elected officials, that's what campaigning is for. You have to know who we are, what we believe in. Do we have things in common? Is this person going to fight for you? So I do support the waiting period process. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also very much support the cooling off period. Maybe 6 months, maybe it could be a year, but we see this evidence of this happening at the national level, federal level, especially between people, the NIH, the CDC, and then going to the big pharma, coming back, and also in the defense industry. We've got people legislating, and appropriating money for defense, and then they go work for Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman. We need to prevent this. This obviously can happen. It does happen at our state level, and we need to prevent this. We need to do everything we can.
Create a waiting period for hiring and running for public office for lobbyists. I don't think I understand the question very well, but I would support the idea of having a waiting period for lobbyists. I don't know why they would consider running. I think that's awful. And I'm not sure I'm understanding what the revolving door is either. But I would just support the idea of
So they have these bans at the federal level, and I think it's totally appropriate to do at the state level. I thought that for a very long time. I think it's crazy that you be a legislator or a governor, and then the very next day after you resign, you're immediately lobbying. That's crazy. I definitely think it should be a cooling off period, 1 or 2 years. When it comes to elections, I think you can trust voters, we can trust delegates, I think you can trust the process. You're the ones who should vet people and make those decisions. I think as voters, that's where the decision
Utah even more than that. So I think that we would all agree, we want to limit corruption, and we don't want people profiting off of that revolving door. And it also makes it so we have more new legislators to train up, and so there's also those consequences.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so I'm going to run through these mostly for you guys. And then if some of these, feel free to text me if you want someone specific, or I can post these for you. So on miscellaneous, it says, many of the authority districts and other districts like the Point and Maya, which stand for Military Installation Development Authority, are made up of committees where some, but not all of the members are directly elected. What is your opinion of taxation without representation? Do individuals need to be elected, directly elected to vote on how taxes are spent?
Or raised.
Can you go back to that question?
The other one, and I'll post, I don't agree with all, and so, yeah, I just want them to see, in case some of these, when you guys have phone calls, if this is stuff that interests them. This one says, why or why not should Utah repeal SB 54? What are your thoughts on the sensitive materials issue that was in the schools? According to the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, only 8% of Utah's water is used by humans, including for crops. I was shocked, I don't know. With 92% of Utah's water staying in nature, what are your thoughts on Utah's water issues? And quick Utah agriculture, there's a little cartoon that's 1 minute long on YouTube that will give you that information. This one says, what do you see as the biggest issue facing Utah's education system? And 500 says, does Utah need a Secretary of State to oversee its elections? And I'm not going to address that up there. Conflicts of interest, this one says, how will you guard against the inherent favors expected from special interest donations? So just so you guys know, you open an account as an elected official, and they will just send money to you. So you'll have like $1,000 to the Utah Real Estate Association. And the elected official will say, well, just because they give money doesn't mean I'm going either way. But I have to tell you that, generally speaking, you don't do something that doesn't work over and over and over again. And so you may find an outlier that doesn't, but as you can see with our high-density housing, some things work. And conflicts of interest. In 2013, the U.S. government repealed the over 60-year-old Smith-Mundt Act that prohibited news media outlets from using propaganda on Americans. Would you support a bill that created a Utah version of the Smith-Mundt Act prohibiting media propaganda? Also, would you support a prohibition on the state from using propaganda on I-15 billboards and entering into opinion-based public campaigns? Okay, innovation. The word innovation must be Utah's most overused word to advocate for legislation if you have listened to any committee, particularly legislation that has a public-private partnership in it. How would you answer the question, because this question does come up, shouldn't Utah's government be innovative? And for 200, in the past 5 years, have you served as a lobbyist, and if so, who were your clients? Have any bills passed in the last 5 years that benefited you financially when it came to any businesses that you own or have financial stake in? This one says, a recent executive order by the governor established a bill coordinating council. For those who know GOEO, the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, it's similar but larger. It's a conglomeration of special interest groups and stakeholders. These groups will advise on multiple subjects, including housing, energy, water, the Olympics, land use, economic development, etc., etc. What is your position on this executive order or on the similar Lehi Development Agency, which was SB 337? And 500 says, PIDs, public infrastructure districts, are a way for corporations to claim that they are a government entity for the duration of a project to allow private corporations to receive special interest rates. Are PIDs a valuable tool for economic development? Why or why not? Back to our favorite subject, conspiracy theories. A central bank digital currency, a way to control economic participation, the innovative future, and or a conspiracy. For 200, there are many bills and resolutions demonstrating Utah's implementation of Biden's America the Beautiful, which references being in line with the UN's 3030 agenda. What is your understanding of conservation and the securing of 30% of the land, water, and minerals by 2030? And for 300, the governor's endorsed District 3 Better program has a rating component where debaters have been given scores. What are your thoughts on both the program and on scoring speech? And for 400, the Olympics have been a divisive subject for Utahns, with the contract requiring alignment with the IOC and the SDG goals. The Utah taxpayers are required to make up the difference if Utah goes over budget. However, there are many who are excited to have the world back in Utah in 2030. Where do you stand on the cost of the Utah Olympics versus the value? Housing. How would you support legislation? Would you support legislation to prohibit HOAs from putting liens on houses? What are your views on centralized high-density mandates? What are your views on property taxes? What will you use as a guide and a reference when evaluating if a bill fits the proper role of government? Last session, there were 1,250 documents under consideration, including bills and resolutions, but not even including the amendments. It is not humanly possible to read and comprehend them all in 45 days. How will you vote if you haven't read or fully comprehend a bill or a resolution? Last session, what would you consider to be the most controversial bill or the worst bill that you would have spent political capital to stop? What bill were you in favor of last session? And lastly, would you advocate to bring back the constitutional review that used to happen for every bill? And should there be a statute of limitations on constitutional challenges in court? And if so, how long? Okay, thank you guys for sitting with that. Raise your hand if you would like some of those questions and emails too. Okay, wonderful. Fantastic. All right, so the order for our closing comments, because I had to puzzle this while you guys were sitting there. If we go first to last, then the last was first and the first was last, and they're heard first and last, so that doesn't work. And so we're going to start with Greg, and then go Ricky, and then go Jason, and then Melissa, Corey, and Lee. And then that way we have scrambled it good enough. So same thing as 2 minutes.
Make sure this is working. Can I start?
Fantastic. You're on.
Right, it's been a really great show today. It's been a lot of fun. I respect everybody up here. I admire them very much. And I appreciate all of you being delegates and being here. You know, when considering your vote and who you think would best represent the district, consider the following. Obviously, is the candidate highly thoughtful? Is the candidate highly competent, experienced in relevant domains, articulate enough in communicating, most of all, sharing values? You might be looking for someone with tons of policy experience. That's up here. Somebody a lot of tech experience, represent tech, or emergency services, or real estate, or someone with the biggest heart in the whole planet. And there's a lot of amazing people up here, wonderful experience to choose from. It's going to be tough, but you have such a great field here. And if you think that maybe problem-solving engineer with lots of energy would do a good job of representing your district, think about you are choosing someone not only to be the representative of the district now, but someone who can represent the future that you envision for your children and your grandchildren. And I feel like I've said it before, we have a biological imperative, spiritual, moral imperative to do our very best to leave this state better for our children and our grandchildren, to have roads that are safe, air and water, and that is clean, environment that is sustainable, taken care of, while we do our best to champion innovation, the overused word. But we can champion economic growth. We can champion industrial growth while being great stewards of our state into the future. And I feel like I have a lot to bring. I feel like I have some really relevant experience in several different things. And for that reason, I'm asking you to vote. Thank you so much. That's right.
The headlight's bright. Okay, that's fine. Okay, sounds right. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so Greg brought up some good points. We all have special talents. We're all special candidates, and we're all, from what I've listened, we're all extremely conservative people. My biggest thing is that I've always believed if it's good for the family, it's going to be good for Utah. And I've been an elected official before. I know what it is to fight against special interests, especially in California. It's a lot of special interests, a lot of money being thrown around, but I was self-funded. I basically paid for half my campaign, the other half was paid by some friends and family. We need to focus on making the city of Saratoga relevant and protecting what we have here. My job is to represent you, not to represent special interests. I don't care about special interests. I'm not here to make a career out of this. It's about making sure that we get what we need. Saratoga is one of the fastest growing communities, so let's make sure we can match that with our infrastructure. The water use, obviously we saw the stats on the water use, and we got to make sure we get to use that water, and it's used for Utahns only, not to be given away to other states. And if it is given away to other states, let's make sure we tax them or tariff them. I want to make sure that there's no wokeness. We got to get rid of this wokeness. There's only two genders, simple as that, boy, girl. That needs to stay out of schools, and we got to protect our children at all costs. When it comes to taxes, I hate taxation without representation. We got to protect ourselves again. I hate that they want to give away our privacy. Nobody should know what I'm doing. Nobody should know what my daughters are doing. And I want to make sure that we can cut taxes as well with ideas that I've shared with other people. But my name is Ricky Felix, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thanks for taking time out of your day to be here tonight. It's about as hot as a structure fire in here for me. I'm not a career politician. I'm a firefighter paramedic by trade. I don't want to do this long term, but as a father of two little boys, I knew it was time to step up, get involved, and this was my opportunity to do it. I've spent my entire life running towards problems, right? You call 911, it's to solve a problem. That's the exact mindset I'm going to take into the House of Representatives. There's not a bad candidate up here. I've got extreme respect for each one of these individuals. Find which one works best for you. I'm going to go up there, I'm going to fight, I'm going to have integrity. My big things are transparency, accountability, and I'm not saying that anyone up here doesn't have those, but I'm going to do my best to make every decision I make as transparent as possible. I'm going to fight for the tax dollars, every penny we can out of those tax dollars before we ever turn to ask for more. I've had great conversations with a lot of you over the last couple of weeks. We've talked in person, you're probably tired of seeing my emails and my text messages, stuff like that. But I'm here to listen. I'm here for that accountability. I'm here to empower the delegates. And I'm ready to go to work. I'd be honored to earn your support. Find which candidate's right, and hopefully it's me.
All right, thanks everyone for being here. Those who have talked to me know my top three priorities are infrastructure, education, and fiscal responsibility. Unchecked growth is overwhelming our communities, and it's eroding our quality of life. And let's be honest, growth without infrastructure is not progress, it's reckless, and it needs to stop. Our community was built on faith, family, and hard work, but those values are under attack by mandates who don't reflect who we are, by out-of-touch policies, and by an agenda that puts government power ahead of our personal freedoms. I would stand to protect our quality of life, not trade it away for high-density developments or top-down planning. And that means putting roads and water infrastructure in first, prioritizing that infrastructure before pushing more people in, listening to our local voices. Fiscal responsibility. I I will fight against tax hikes. I'll champion tax relief for families, reduce regulatory burdens on our job creators, and defend your right to keep more of what you earn, raise your children your way, and live by your values. If this is not just campaign talk, I know how to work. I'm ready to represent you in the State House of Representatives. I care about your voice. If you want a fighter, someone who believes in the Constitution, who believes in common sense, and who will go to battle to preserve our way of life, then I'm your candidate. Together, we can preserve our quality of life for our children and generations to come, and I would be honored to have your support in the special election on June 28th.
So I'm up here tonight because I care about our community, and Eileen and I and our kids back here, they're here today. We were very deliberate about where we decided to live because this is just such an amazing place. And we even moved here before the Chick-fil-A came in, so now it's perfect. So the reason I'm running is I feel like I have something to contribute. And, you know, I've been working in this space for a long time, and I see the families that are here. Our kids have such tremendous friends. It's just such a wonderful place to raise kids. I just want to preserve that, and I want to do better. You know, I want us to leave something, Dale, for your grandkids that they can actually appreciate, and that's what worries me because you know, things are spiraling a little bit out of control, and I want to do something about it. That's what I'm here to do, and if you put your trust in me, what I'd love to do is put my skills and my experience to work and do my best, and then hand it over to one of you, you know? Because that's what citizen legislature is all about. So, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for taking this seriously, this whole process. I mean, it takes so much time for you guys to be here and answer our calls, and answer the door, and oh my gosh, he's here again, you know, all that stuff. So, thank you for that, and I look forward to knocking on it. Okay. Lori has to ask you, thank you.
Okay, don't start there. I just want to say that I just really love these people. These are my brothers. And Melissa's and my sister. I truly love these people, and I'm so proud to be a part of them. Now you can start. The Revolutionary War didn't begin in 1775 and end in 1783. So much has happened since the time of the founders. Miraculous inventions like paved roads, cars, movie theaters, indoor heating and air conditioning, indoor plumbing, the telephone, television, people walking on the moon, computers, internet, cell phones, social media, Spotify, self-driving cars, AI, and the like, and all because of the freedoms we enjoy today. And for all the platitudes we give to the founders, so we can be seen as being like them, we are fearful. We are afraid of offending each other. We are afraid to have a different opinion. We are afraid to say the wrong thing. We are afraid to stand up for what we know is true. This is not a legacy of the founders. I submit to you that the Revolutionary War is still here in 2025. The battle to be true, the fight to be people of character, to not worry about not taking votes, the battle to even recognize what truth even is anymore, the battle to not fear. The battle may not be visual, but it is raging within us. And the battle is in the inner struggle to rise from mediocrity, to awake from the sleep of comfort, to get out from under our fears, to not let our insecurities distract us from doing everything we know we need to do, and to be who we know we are meant to be. This is the way we honor the founders. Freedom is not ours to keep like a memento. It's not a historical relic that we place in the mantle for all to see. Freedom is not a respect of persons. It's not owned by anyone, but won and earned by a virtuous and immoral people. If we want to remain free, we must be free. It's not found in RDAs, independent entities, special interest groups, or even in legislators and candidates. Freedom is earned by each of us, living and being true to the principles that keep us free. Let freedom ring. My name is Lehi Hansen, and I'm running for House District 51. I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you very much to our candidates. Let me get to... Okay, so just quickly, basically this announcement. So I want to show you, this will take me 30 seconds. I want to show you that Senate District 21 got 87%. That was massive for a Senate district. We were super proud of them.
And then House District 54, which is similar in size to House District 51 at 93%. So this is your target. This is your target for next Saturday. If you are a precinct chair, you're on the phone, get those vacancies filled. If you have somebody who did not make it, if somebody's iffy, offer them a ride. Our target is to beat House District 54, and I will tell them inside from House District 54 that you guys beat them. So we're going to beat 93% next Saturday. And then this is where we're going to be next Saturday is at Westlake. And also, for those of you who've heard about the endorsements that are going on, these are the 2 slides for your area. You guys have a meet the candidates. That is June 23rd. I think that's Monday. And it is at Westlake High School. Westlake High School will have Saratoga Springs people who have filed for the endorsement with the Utah County Republican Party, and those will be people who are running for mayor, city council, and any school board seats, those that have filed. You can find that list on our website, ucrp.org, and then you click on the endorsements, there's scrollers, and it'll show you who has filed for the endorsement. You can come, ask them questions, and we will be emailing this to you. If you're a precinct chair, make sure that your precinct knows about this and all of your delegates. And then the voting convention for those endorsements will be at Lake Mountain. For the Lake Mountain District will be at Cedar Valley, and that is on July 9th. That includes also Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, Cedar Fork, and Fairfield City councils and mayoral races. So that is on July 9th, Wednesday, from 6 to 9. The way that it works will be you will credential, you will go into the gym, there's another meet the candidates, you can ask any final question, and then on your way out, you will show your credentials, get your ballots, and then you will vote. So if you already know who you are voting to endorse, you have more questions, come in like we did with primaries, for those who remember that. Come into school, like an open house from 6 to 9, and we'll be there, and you can credential, go ahead, grab your ballots, and then head on out. So that process should be fairly easy. Those are the 2 flyers. They're also on the website, so you guys can find those on the website, and we'll be emailing those to you. Yes, Chuck?
Really quickly, there are people in here that are from Lehi. The candidates for Lehi will be on the 25th from 6 to 8 o'clock at Lehi High School, and then that process will continue similarly at Skyridge High School on the 7th.
Okay, and then we should get out of here because it's so hot. This is the last quote that I wanted to leave you with. When I read this, I thought, oh goodness, this is the call to Utah because Utah has a super majority. We are all Republicans, but I tell you, everything that I put on that Jeopardy board is happening to the state of Utah. We have been sold to corporations. We absolutely have, and our legislature is calling it innovation. It is really happening. We have good people who have tried. Some of them don't know. Some of them have made concessions. But this is the deal. The only way that things ever get fixed is if the party in power is humble enough and has enough integrity to constrain the power while they hold it. And very few are this kind of good. Please send somebody that is this kind of good. Thank you. Good night.